In this video, I'm going to be giving you an incredibly in-depth breakdown of how you can start your very own direct rental business. And we're going to be focusing on the three main kind of first or foundational steps associated with getting your business up and going. The first thing that I want to talk about is the basics. This is going to be things like things to keep out for, what to keep in mind, the I's to dot, the T's to cross. Secondly, I want to talk about rental software. So this is going to be like the back-end foundation of your business. It's going to be how you facilitate rentals, manage inventory, take payments. For this video, we're going to be honing in on Wheelbase specifically, which is the backend software that I use and highly recommend. And the third thing that I want to talk about is marketing. Now, when it comes to marketing, there are literally thousands of ways to do this. You know, the old adage, there are more than one way to skin a cat, and that certainly applies to marketing here. But what I want to focus on is sort of the barrier or path of least resistance. What are some of the different marketing avenues that you can pursue relatively quickly, cost effectively, and ones that are going to yield results? And so whenever it comes to marketing, again, there are so many ways to go about doing it, but I want to focus on some of the least difficult ways to start marketing tomorrow for your business that really work well. Now, I want to preface all of this by saying that if you are a, experienced direct rental host, you have hundreds of cars, you've been in this game for decades, this video probably isn't the video for you. If you are a Turo host that has no interest in going direct, this video also probably isn't for you. But if you are someone who has been interested in direct rentals, or you at least kind of like want to learn how this gets started and what the process looks like and what you need to get done in order to get going successfully, this video will be the perfect video for you. It's going to be long, in-depth. There will be timestamps so you can kind of navigate from section to section. But I really want this to be your in-depth, full-stop guide on how you can get started with direct rentals if that's something you're interested in exploring. Now, if you're interested in learning more, we do have our course, the Car Sharing Masterclass. You can use the code OFFER99 to get $99 off. So when it comes to the basics of direct rentals, there are a few things that you will want to be thinking about and kind of having top of mind. And the first is going to be a physical location. Now, if you've seen my videos before, you know that I've, been a Turo host for many, many years. I have a growing Turo fleet, nearly 40 cars, and I've generally been a big proponent of remote key exchanges and trying to just find a lot with a couple of spaces and really keeping your operation and your location and overhead very, very lean. And I think that that's all true whenever it comes to car sharing. But I think whenever you go into the world of direct rentals, having a physical location does become a little bit more important. It doesn't mean that you have to run out tomorrow and sign a lease for a space, but it does mean that if you are someone who's wanting to grow via direct rentals, getting a physical location is something that you should at least be thinking about and possibly kind of drawing up a game plan on how you're going to get there. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I think that this becomes more important with direct rentals. It gives the, guest more confidence that you're legitimate. It can serve for marketing purposes of like having the storefront where people can see it. But even more importantly, in my opinion, is things like Google My Business, which allows for you to have a Google business listing with your address. You can market it, you can get reviews, you can kind of grow your business via the Google My Business ecosystem. And that becomes very difficult to do if you don't have a physical address. And we're going to talk about this in more depth a little bit later in the marketing section of this video. But in general, I think that if you are someone who is wanting to start a direct rental fleet, getting a physical location is something I would be thinking about. And it doesn't have to be, a dealership lot. It doesn't have to be a shop like what I have. It could literally be just like a cheap office where you can go there, you can put like a sticker on the storefront, you can use the parking lot for your cars. It can be something simple and cost effective. So there are a lot of ways to go about getting the physical location, but at least having an address that you can call your business, I think is a good idea. Number 2 is insurance. Now, obviously, this is a huge part of direct rentals, and you do want to make sure that you have proper insurance. You have insurance that's going to cover you in the case that something goes wrong. Now, whenever it comes to insurance providers, there is one clear winner here whenever it comes to which companies are best. And in my opinion, it is Roamly. I have previously worked with GMI, I've worked with ABI, I've worked with Tent. Many of these examples don't even work with direct rentals, so it's sort of a moot point. But when it comes to insurance for direct rentals, Roamly is hands down the best option. They are cost effective, they're easy to sign up. They offer insurance for direct and car sharing fleets, so you don't have to have your insurance spread across multiple providers. And for me, I have my entire fleet insured through Roamly, from my camper van to my car sharing vehicles on Turo to my direct rental fleet. The next thing that you'll want to think about, and this is where it's going to be a little bit different than the path that I pursue with car sharing, is trackers. Now, with trackers, at least with like the majority of my fleet through Turo, we do an OBD2 port tracker. We have like a way that we tuck the tracker under the dash. It makes it very hard to find and detect. But when it comes to our direct fleet, we actually go a step further and do a more robust tracker that has an ignition kill switch. This is in our eyes kind of like a safety net that we use for the fleet to make sure that if something goes wrong, we have a backup plan. We have a way to stop the car, to potentially recover it, to stop the guest from using it. And, as of right now, we really haven't had to use it a ton, but there has been a number of instances where a guest will continue to extend. They haven't paid their bill, at which point we will kill the ignition, say, hey, you need to get current with your bill. And more often than not, whenever that happens, whenever we kill the ignition for that reason, we get a payment pretty quickly. So having the trackers with an ignition kill switch is a very, very good idea. I highly recommend it. I know it gives me peace of mind knowing that I have this as a backup plan. And for us, we use One Step GPS. I highly, highly recommend them. We use their trackers for an entire fleet. And I think there's like a bunch of different providers that have ignition kill switches. One Step is just the one that I personally use. And lastly is the rental contract. You will absolutely want to have a rental contract for your direct rentals. Now, I don't want to turn this into a contract law 101 because I am not a lawyer, but I did hire a lawyer to make a contract template for the car sharing masterclass students. If you are a member of the car sharing masterclass, you can download it. If you're interested in signing up for the car sharing masterclass, you'll gain access to that forever. And the point is you should have a rental car contract. It should be fairly robust. You should make sure to include everything applicable to your local municipalities, state law, obviously federal law, and kind of have that built out. And so it is something I recommend hiring a lawyer for or downloading a reputable contract template for. It is not something that you should use like ChatGPT for. That is a recipe for disaster. Now, these are really the core 4 things that I think that you should have kind of sorted out. You should have a plan in action, a plan in place for how you're going to address these 4 things. And these really should, at least, these 3 should really be in place and in motion before you even take your first rental. The physical location is something that can wait. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but these other 3 points definitely are. You should have insurance, you should have trackers built in, and you should have a rental car contract. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is your rental car software. And the purpose of a rental car software is actually quite complex. You may be thinking to yourself, oh, what does it do? It just lists our car and it collects payments. You would be wrong because I have tried a ton of rental car software platforms. There are many that are good. There are some that are bad. But in my opinion, there is one that reigns supreme and it is Wheelbase. But I'll talk about Wheelbase here in a second because what I first want to talk about is what makes a good rental car software. Now, let me first talk about what a rental car software is, at least in relation to a website. So whenever it comes to like a lot of websites and services that we use as consumers, there's really 2 sides to it. You have the kind of front facing, which is like the website, oftentimes referred to as like a landing page, a marketing site. I mean, there are a ton of different names that people call this. This is the site where you learn like what a service is, what it offers. There's like ad copy on it. There's like a sales pitch. There's a way to sign up. This is really where like the information of what the product is and what service they offer is verbalized and it's on this website. And if you are using an online website service, there's also a back end portion that's like the application. And this is where you actually do everything that the website says it does. This is because this is the back end where the actual work is done and it's an application, whereas this is like the front face, which is like the marketing piece. So whenever it comes to your direct rental website, you will build out this. Like you will hire a developer, you'll go onto WordPress, Squarespace, you could do it yourself. You will build out the website. But then you need to find a back end provider that already has this portion built out. And then you will integrate these things together to appear as one. And whenever it comes to you managing your rental fleet, you're going to do most of your work from this app. In fact, I mean, I can't even remember the last time that I logged into my website. I don't update it frequently. I need to update it, but I don't update it frequently. But I am in the like backend application Wheelbase every single day. So this is sort of the relationship between site and app. And whenever I talk about rental car software, I'm talking about the role that a software provider plays in creating the back-end application that is used to keep your rental fleet running. And a good rental car website is going to have a ton of different features. It's going to have ways to list your car. It needs to have a way to embed onto your site. Ideally, it'll have like a messaging feature or email or something. Payments, obviously. Extensions, insurance components, inventory, calendar, extras, contract integration. I mean, the list goes on and on. Whenever it comes to a good rental car software, the features that you need in order to really take your business to the next level, they are robust. And the software that I use that I highly recommend is Wheelbase. Now, I've been working with the Wheelbase team for the better part of 2025, and while they are always looking for ways to like improve and enhance the user experience, I can say from, my personal experience that I think that their product is extremely good, and I do think that's the best on the market when it comes to direct rentals. So how Wheelbase works is you list your car similar to how you would on a traditional peer-to-peer car sharing platform. You then have the ability to take and upload photos, set your pricing, you can write a description, and then Wheelbase will embed this into your site using simple HTML. Then through that HTML, your website and the backend of Wheelbase are linked together so they appear as one. Through Wheelbase, you can set your security deposit, you can charge that security deposit, you can set and charge for extras, whether it be for unlimited mileage, car seats, prepaid refuel. You can do vehicle swaps if a vehicle gets double booked. I mean, it truly allows for you to take the entire rental operation and kind of input it into your own business. And it has the infrastructure in place to where you have a ton of robust features, but you can still do what you want because it's your business, but you're not starting from scratch building all of this out because they have a lot of the infrastructure built up for you. So for example, when you list a car, it guides you through documents and files, so things like insurance cards. It guides you through prices and the fact that you need to add a tax rate, different fees, whether you want an instant booking or not, adding photos or opting into insurance, which we'll talk about here in a bit. You can upload your rental contract, which can get sent via DocuSign to your guests upon booking. You can send out quotes. And you can have automated messages get sent out to guests via email depending on what stage they're in the booking process. So whether they abandon checkout, if their booking is in 24 hours, whatever. With Wheelbase, there's also a ton of cool features that you can opt into or opt out of, whether it be insurance, roadside, insurance verification. There are a ton of cool features that you can kind of customize based off of what you want to accomplish with your business. But one of the coolest features of Wheelbase, and before I actually started using Wheelbase, I would say the biggest selling point for me was their insurance integration. Now, Wheelbase is sort of part of a larger cinematic universe that I've talked about on my channel before. So Wheelbase is the rental platform that we're talking about now. This is a platform where you can kind of host your own vehicles through your own website. It is a direct rental backend. But under Wheelbase, you also have Roamly. Roamly is an insurance arm that offers insurance not only for peer-to-peer car sharing fleets, but for direct rental fleets and even RVs. And outside of that, you also have Outdoorsy. If you've watched my channel for a long time, you've heard me talk about Outdoorsy because I've been renting out my camper van through Outdoorsy since 2022. All of these companies are under the same umbrella. That's my umbrella. That's a really bad umbrella. So Wheelbase Direct Rentals, Roamly Insurance, and Outdoorsy RVs are all part of the same company. And so whenever you're a part of Wheelbase, you can get access to Roamly, and you can actually offer insurance to your guests via Roamly through your website. And this is huge. Because whenever I got started with direct rentals, I wanted the ability to sell insurance to my guests and be able to offer them insurance on a daily rate. But what I found is that a lot of insurance companies don't do this for smaller fleets, and that you have to go through a third-party service in order to do it, which is fine and well. And, sometimes we still have to do that, which I'll explain in a moment. But I still wanted the ability to be able to get insurance for my guests in the easiest way possible. And there really wasn't a solution out there until Roamly and Wheelbase started offering this through their Wheelbase platform. So through Wheelbase with Roamly, you can actually opt into insurance that your customers can purchase on your website through you. So instead of having to have their own insurance, you can purchase insurance through you on a daily basis. This is an incredible feature, and it really is great for those renters who don't have insurance or need it for a short period of time. Now, not all cars are eligible for this insurance. In fact, about half my fleet isn't eligible for the insurance and the other half is. And so whenever a guest books my car that doesn't have this insurance option because of lack of eligibility, they either have to provide their own insurance or they purchase insurance through a third-party outside site, which isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. I mean, it's fine. And so you also have to think of this from the value perspective of the guest, because the guest doesn't really know that you're with Wheelbase and you use Roamly and this is how all of this works. They don't know how the sausage is made. They just know that they go into your website, they have access to the car, they can get insurance all in one place, and it makes it super easy. Now, I've been so impressed with Wheelbase, their platform, their team, and maybe one day I'll do a full in-depth walkthrough of how to sign up for Wheelbase, how to onboard your cars, how to do the full A to Z. We actually do have this in the car sharing masterclass, and you can of course walk through this with the Wheelbase team if you decide to go with them. But I think for now, I'm just going to leave this at that. If you are interested in going direct and you want to check out Wheelbase, I will have their information down in the module notes below. So last and I think, probably as important as a rental car software is marketing. Now, marketing is going to be how do you let people know that you exist? How do you let them know what you offer? And how do you get them to sign up? Now, marketing is such a complex piece of the puzzle because there are so many different pieces that go into this, from having a website, having a logo. Do you need a logo? Do you not need a logo? The website copy, the URL, the business name, Google listings, Facebook pages, social media. I mean, you could probably make a course on direct rental marketing on its own. Now, I have a marketing background. I've been in marketing in some way, shape, or form for most of my career. And before I left corporate America, my official title was head of marketing. So this is something that is my bread and butter. But I'm going to be honest, whenever we started our direct rental fleet, I was a little bit discouraged about the slow pace in which we started to see progress. And it felt as though marketing our fleet was an uphill battle. And the main reason for this is we started our direct rental fleet as like a brand new business. So despite the fact that, we had been in the car sharing space for so long, we had, a large fleet of vehicles, we started our direct rental fleet specifically from the ground up because we did not want to violate the Turo terms of service. So, we don't use the same cars in our direct rental fleet as we do in our Turo fleet. We never ever communicate with different guests. We would never take our Turo guests and point them to our direct rental fleet. We really, really try to keep them completely separate. And while I think that this is the safest way that we could pursue direct rentals while also publicly talking about it and, also having respect for Turo and having this Turo fleet, it also made it way harder to start the business up because it really did feel like we were starting the business from scratch. Everything was brand new. And it did take us some time to kind of get the ball rolling and for us to feel like we were making progress and like this was a worthwhile business or secondary business to pursue. Now, starting off with our direct rental fleet, we tried everything. We did Facebook ads, just like organic social content, Google, Nextdoor, Instagram, boots on the ground. So like going to local shops and letting them know that we exist. But there are three key things that we did that I think moved the dial more than anything else. And it moved it a lot more than all of these different things that we pursued prior to like really double downing on these three things that I'm about to talk about. And, before I dive into the three different ways that you can market your fleet, I want to kind of preface this all by saying there are hundreds of ways to market something, thousands even. Like, this video is in many ways a marketing piece for my course, The Car Sharing Masterclass, because those of you who watch this will be interested in car sharing and you might go buy it. This is a form of marketing. You have paper marketing, online marketing, paper ads. I mean, there are so many different ways to market something, and I am by no means saying that what I'm about to say is the only way to go about doing it, but I did feel that whenever I started doing these three things, we ended up getting really good and cost-effective results pretty quickly. And I think that these three things that I'm about to talk to you about are the main reasons why we have been consistently sold out of our direct rental fleet for months now, and we literally are not buying cars quick enough to satiate guest demand. So it feels like this first one is a little bit of an obvious one, but I think it is worth talking about, and that is having a website. Your website does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be professionally made. It doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles. You don't need to hire an ad copywriter or a developer. You can do it yourself, following a YouTube video, doing WordPress, Squarespace, Wix. I mean, there are so many providers out there. One of these days, I will make a video walking through how to make a website, at least like a simple one for the purpose of a direct rental fleet, but today is not that day. But you must have a website. I think that this is incredibly important. One, because it's going to be, the way that people find you, the way that people book your cars, but one is because it links to your wheelbase, and so it's a big part of how people rent your cars. But even if you did all of your bookings over the phone or in person, having a website just establishes you as a business. I know for me, as somebody who would consider myself to be a marketer, if I look at a business and they don't have a website, whether it be a service-based business, a restaurant, whatever, I immediately judge that business. I am a firm believer that every business should have a website of some shape and form. But in addition to having a website, you should also have a business email. And so this is an email where, it's not business@gmail.com, but instead, support@biz.com. Or one I've been using lately for different businesses is hello@biz.com. I think it sounds a little bit better than support. It could be anything. It could be your name. It could be, a mascot for the company. It could be hello. It could be support. It could be marketing, sales, whatever. It doesn't matter. But having a email that is a legitimate email, not a Gmail address, is something I think also adds validity to a business. It's so cheap. It kind of separates your business and personal. I think it adds professionalism to the business. I think it's important. And then third is having a business phone number through something like Quo, formerly known as Open Phone. If you wanted to do like a different business phone number through like Ring Central, you definitely could. There's a ton of them, but having, a business phone number where people can call you, you can put them on hold. There can be, business hours of operations, an automated message. Those types of things will really go a long way in a business. And I think in a space like direct rentals where there are more and more small players popping up, I think that these small details set you apart from the more amateur operations. And I really want to drive home the point here that your website doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to work. It needs to show the information, make the website, have a couple friends and family look at it, give their feedback, check spelling and grammar, and ship it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can always adjust it as time goes on. And as you get your direct rental site going, you could always, hire a developer later on and make a better one. So you don't have to be married to your site. It can be like an evolving thing over time, and you can make it better as weeks and months progress. The second thing that I want to talk about is your Google business listing. And in my opinion, this is going to be one of the best marketing tools that you can have for your business. Now, this has been known as a number of things over the years. I believe last time I talked about this in a video, I called it the wrong thing, and I might even be calling it the wrong thing now. But it's been known as like Google My Business, Google Business Listing. It's been known as a lot of stuff over the past, but it is the, listing location information that pops up whenever somebody Googles a specific business, where you can see, photos, information, their address, hours of operation, reviews. That is what I'm referring to, and I will put a picture of it on screen. Get this set up. This should be one of your first steps whenever you're ready to get going. The creator right here is who I followed whenever I was setting mine up, but I've watched a few different ones. Now, I don't want to walk you through the process of setting up a Google business listing because there are so many videos that do this exact same thing, and I'd rather you just watch one of those. Instead, what I want to do is I want to focus on the things that I did within my Google business listing that I think helped move the dial as far as people finding me, ranking my business, and getting more sales and more revenue in. So whenever you do a Google business listing, it's pretty easy to just kind of follow the flow. And so you'll be asked about like your address, your operating hours. You'll be prompted to give a description. You want to make sure that that is like SEO heavy, that it gives people a really clear idea of what you do, but it also helps rank. But at some point in the process, you're going to be prompted to verify your location. This Google verification, in my experience, is a bit of a pain in the butt, but it is extremely important. In fact, I think that Google verification alone is worth having a physical address for. Whenever you list a business on Google that doesn't have a front-facing public address, it's pretty easy to get that business up and running because it doesn't have a physical address associated with it. So the scam associated with it is, I think, lower. At least that's how Google perceives it, because it is very, very easy to get a business verified on Google without a physical address. But if you have a physical address, you have to verify that that address is your address. And this process can sometimes take a bit of time because you have to record a video where you show that like you have access to the property. You have to show the signage, that the location is associated with the business. There is this whole thing to it. And this is where having a physical address can make a big difference, because if you're going to rent direct, I would highly encourage you to get some sort of office space. Whenever you have a physical address that you have verified through Google, Google will then use that address to send people who are in your area to you if they are searching for businesses like yours. And so whenever somebody searches for something like rental cars, you have a higher likelihood of popping up because you are ranking higher as a result of something like your address. Having a physical address for your direct rental business will help you get more leads. It'll help you get more business. I guarantee it. What you need to decide is the cost of having a physical location worth the extra business that you'll get? And that will depend on like your demographic, how many cars you have, etc. But having a physical location and having a publicly facing address that is public is important for Google My Business listings. You'll also want to make sure that you've selected the right category for your business. And as I mentioned a moment ago, you'll want to make sure that you thoughtfully fill out a business description with SEO rich keywords. There's actually this really cool plugin called GMB Everywhere, and it lets you spy on your competitors and see what SEO settings they have within their own Google business listings. Now, whenever you get your Google business listing set up, I want you to dedicate a couple of weeks at least to consistently updating photos, to making sure that you have your logo there, to updating posts within Google. This is something that's a good practice to do on an ongoing basis. I am admittedly not that great doing it on a consistent basis. I go through spurts where I'm very consistent and then spurts where I'm not. But at least doing it whenever you first get started is important. That way your Google business listing doesn't appear as bare. And as you get more and more content on there, you can kind of scale back a little bit. And I think it becomes a little bit less important. But what you need to focus on with Google My Business listing isn't just having the listing, it's getting reviews on it. And this is kind of part 2 of the Google My Business listing and why I think that this is so incredibly important. What we have done in every business that we have, especially whenever we're first getting started, is our goal is to get X number of reviews every single week. And, it might just be one review a week. And our goal is to get a review that week. It doesn't matter who it's from. Ideally, it would be from a paying customer. But if, we didn't get one, maybe from a relative, a friend, our parents, we want to get a review published on our profile once per week or twice per week or 3 times per week, whatever. I have found that getting more and more reviews on your Google business listing not only gives confidence to consumers, but it helps you rank because it shows Google that you are an active business, actively interacting with customers and they're having a good experience. It creates this domino effect that I just think is hard to describe other than once you start getting more reviews, you will get more calls, you'll get more business coming through your door. I just really don't know how to describe it any more simply than that. Now, obviously, whenever it comes to reviews, you have Facebook, Yelp, Google. I mean, there are so many. I couldn't even write them all here. But, it is a good idea to try to get reviews for all of these different ones. If you try to cast a really broad net, it's not going to be as effective. And so I would consider to be reviews on all of these other websites to be gravy. And instead, I would focus 100% of, my review resources to getting Google reviews. This will help serve your business better. People search on Google for a rental car. Once you get a good amount of reviews on Google, you can then pivot your focus to only focusing on Yelp or only focusing on Facebook. The reality is most customers aren't going to review more than one place, and so you want to funnel the reviews to one place so that you can really build that up. So I want to do a quick recap of what we talked about so far in the marketing piece, which is having a website and accompanying that with a business email and a business phone number, and then also having a Google business listing that you've filled out completely. You have photos, it looks like a real business, and you've prioritized reviews that you try to get at least once per week. Now it's time to start running ads. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I don't think that you should run ads until you have these other pieces of the puzzle sorted. You shouldn't be running ads until you have a good website. You shouldn't be running ads until you have Google My Business listing. I don't think you should be running ads until you have at least a few reviews. So this is sort of the final piece of the puzzle, but it's also going to be the biggest difference maker because of the fact that in many parts of the internet and in business today, it's pay to play. And Google Ads is no different. Google's going to push the, businesses that pay for ads. That's just the reality of what it is. And so I want to talk about running ads, specifically the one avenue that I have found is most effective for whenever you're first starting out. And whenever we started with direct rentals, I kind of tapped into what I knew had worked in the past with other businesses. I made Facebook posts, videos, we did a lot of organic content. We really focused on images and video. And we really didn't see a ton of traction with this avenue. And so we ended up abandoning this and fully going into Google Ads to see how that would fare. And it ended up being a really great decision. Now, I followed this YouTube creator's tutorial on creating a Google ad campaign because prior to this, I didn't have a ton of experience in running Google ads. And we created one singular campaign with a relatively small budget. We targeted one area and a 10-mile radius, and that area was our physical location. We didn't target by income, by, zip codes, nothing. It's just a 10-mile radius around our direct rental location. We also didn't muck with a bunch of different landing pages. We just lead the leads to our website. Because sometimes if you've watched a lot of marketing websites, people will be like, well, you should have different landing pages for different offers. And I think it's all fine and well. But I think that you muddy the waters really easily if you start getting too deep into that. And I think oftentimes whenever you're first getting started, it's just a matter of gaining momentum. And as of right now, at least as of recording this video, our daily budget is $15 a day. And our click-through rate, so the percentage of people that click on the ad, is over 11%, which is extremely good. And it feels as though whenever this campaign really started gaining traction and it started yielding results, it felt like the flip of a switch. We went from having cars kind of sitting all the time to being intermittent to now we get calls all the time, every single day asking if we have cars available. We are literally on a wait list and we can't buy cars fast enough. And I'm going to show you the exact settings. So as I mentioned, I followed this creator's video, and when it came to actually setting up my ads, the only location or demographics that I used was the 10-mile radius around my location. This may be larger or smaller depending on your fleet, but it's very common for people in my area to travel that distance to our fleet. We also used English as our language, but other than that, we did the exact same settings as the video walkthrough. Now, these are the keywords that I'm using currently, and you can see that most of these aren't even getting any hits or traction, but I've left them here because why would I mess with something that's not broken? You can see here is my ad copy, my headline, description. You don't need images for the types of ads we're running, so that's blank. Now, I encourage you to pause this video so that you can get an idea of exactly what I'm doing because I know that I'm moving kind of quickly. Now, this ad set is stupid simple. In fact, whenever I go through it, I oftentimes feel like I need to fix something or adjust something because it feels too simple for what it's doing. But the click-through rate doesn't lie, and if something is working, then I would be silly to change it, so I've just been leaving it as is. And so when it comes to marketing, this is exactly what I would recommend doing. Get your website, email, phone number, set up a Google listing, start getting reviews, and then run ads to your website. Easy peasy. But before we end this video, I want to take a brief moment to kind of talk about what you can expect with this flow with direct rentals whenever you first start giving direct rentals, because this is actually something that I really overthought a lot about, and I tend to overthink things in general, but it was something that really caused me a lot of anxiety of what's going to happen when we get our first direct rental? How will I know what to do? What does that look like? So I want to briefly explain that with the exact setup and tools that we use and I've talked about throughout this video. So you have your car listed, your ads are running, and somebody calls you or they book a car online. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a text message from Wheelbase, and it looks like this. That's going to have the information of who's booking your car and for what date. And from there, what I will typically do is I will immediately log on to Wheelbase and I'll check out the reservation data. So when is the reservation for what car? Have they sent in their information? What does this look like? Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention when it comes to text, all of our texts get sent to us through Quo. So this is something where my entire team will get this text message. It doesn't get sent to my personal phone number. It gets sent to our business line. Whenever you look at the Wheelbase backend, you can see that everything is color-coded. So whenever you have a new reservation that maybe hasn't paid the security deposit, they haven't signed the rental agreement, they haven't been verified, or they opted out of insurance, all of these items will be red. While if they've settled these items or you've got the information that you need, these will turn green. This makes it very, very easy to see within Wheelbase what needs to be done versus what has been completed. So I'll look over Wheelbase, I'll see what's still needed from this guest, and then what I will do is I'll go into OpenPhone or Quo and I will send a text to the guest. I will at this point save their information in the phone so that we know exactly who's contacting us, and we have all of these text messages already built out in the form of templates. That way it's very, very easy to click on the template, fill in the information, and send the message. Then from there, there's generally some back and forth with the guest of coordinating everything that we need, answering any questions, all of that stuff. And once we've confirmed that the reservation is all set, we will send the guest a confirmation text. Then from there, it's pretty easy sailing. One thing that we always do is because of the fact that within Wheelbase, you have the automated emails, but you don't have automated text messages. One of the first things that I do whenever a car is going out for a reservation is I will pre-schedule automated texts. And with us, it's pretty simple. There's an automated text that goes out the day before the guest is set to return the car with return instructions. It also prompts them to extend. With Wheelbase, they have to extend by letting you know that if they want to extend, then you have to extend on your end. So that message gets sent out. And then there's also a text message that gets sent out right before the reservation is set to end. And then we also send one after the reservation ends asking for a review. And then with Wheelbase, you do have your standard check-in and check-out process. There are buttons on the Wheelbase screen that make this super easy to know how to do it. But in general, that is the entire flow. It's actually super easy, super straightforward. And I really, really like the fact that you get text messages whenever a guest books your car, because some of the other direct rental platforms that I've used in the past did not have this feature. And believe it or not, there had been times where we would be at the shop working and somebody would come to pick up a car and we would have no idea that they were coming. So there you guys have it. This was a long, long video. It took a long time to film. And hopefully you guys find this useful if you're interested in learning about direct rentals. And like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.